My name is Cole Miller, and I'm in the middle of getting a divorce. Across the table, my wife, Catherine Davenport, slides a document toward me. Sign it. Her voice is as cool and as sharp as her name, like the first frost of winter. I look down. The words divorce agreement in a bold, unforgiving font nearly blind me. Hot damn, it's finally here. The free trial of the billionaire lifestyle has officially expired. A wave of pure joy washed over me. But on the outside, I kept my face a perfect mask of tragedy, even managing to squeeze out a hint of sorrow. Me, Cole Miller. 3 months ago, I was just another corporate drone, losing my hair over quarterly reports. I went to sleep one night and woke up here in the body of a guy with the same name, living inside some kind of real-life drama series. The original Cole was a total simp who married into the obscenely wealthy Davenport family for love, only to be ignored by his ice queen wife, Catherine, and looked down on by her entire family. He ended up divorced and broke. A real sob história. But I'm not him. My life's philosophy can be summed up in 2 words: do nothing. For the past 3 months, I've played the part of the useless husband to perfection. I never caused Catherine a lick of trouble. My days consisted of eating, sleeping, and sunbathing in the garden. I was living the retirement I'd always dreamed of. And now, the plot had finally reached the grand finale, the divorce. I picked up the pen, my eyes scanning the terms of the agreement. A 3,000 square foot condo in Tribeca, a Porsche Panamera for running errands, and $50 million in cash. My hand trembled. Oh my God, is this a severance package or a freaking pension? Catherine Davenport is a saint. With this kind of money, I'll never have to work another day in my life. I'll buy a house with a huge backyard, grow tomatoes with one hand, raise chickens with the other. I'm gonna live like a king. I was so excited I almost snapped the pen in half, forcing down the urge to burst into song. I looked up at Catherine, my voice dripping with manufactured heartbreak. Kate, is there really no chance for us? If you're going to act, you go all in. I had to sell my undying devotion to her. That way, she wouldn't suspect a thing, and I could walk away with my jackpot and fade into blissful obscurity. Catherine was about to sign her own copy of the agreement. The hand holding the Mont Blanc fountain pen was elegant, with long, pale fingers. But after I asked my question, her hand froze mid-air. She looked up, and for the first time, I saw a flicker of confusion in those eyes that were usually coated in a permanent layer of ice. Huh, why'd she stop? Sign it. Just sign the damn thing and set me free. Don't look at me like that. You're making me blush. I mean, yeah, you're ridiculously beautiful and your figure is a 10 out of 10, but the sweet air of freedom is even more intoxicating. Inside, I was pacing like a caged animal. On the outside, my face was a study in desolation. I even managed to get my eyes to water a little. Catherine stared at me, her brow furrowing almost imperceptibly. She glanced down at the agreement again, as if checking something. What's to check? I read the fine print. It's all good. It's more than generous. I'm 100% satisfied. Come on, lady. I've got a raid scheduled with the guys this afternoon. You. Catherine finally spoke, her voice laced with uncertainty. You really want the condo, the car, and the money? My stomach dropped. Shit. Does she think she's offering too much? Is she gonna back out? No way. I gotta fight for this. I immediately adopted the posture of a man who scoffs at worldly possessions, shaking my head in anguish. No, Kate. How could these cold, empty assets ever mend my shattered heart? I don't want any of it. I only want you. I punctuated the line with a deep, soulful stare that screamed, you just don't understand me. Come on, be moved by my genuine emotion. Then, out of guilt, you'll shove the money and the property at me. I'm a goddamn genius. Catherine's expression grew even stranger. A tiny crack appeared in her perfect, frozen facade. Her lips parted slightly, as if she were holding something back. Then she did something I never saw coming. She capped the pen. Some of the terms in this agreement require further discussion, she said, standing up and looking down at me. The divorce is on hold. With that, she picked up both copies of the agreement, turned, and walked out of the conference room on her stiletto heels without a backward glance. I was left alone, sitting there like an idiot, still clutching the useless pen. On hold. Further discussion. Are you kidding me, lady? I didn't get my divorce. It put me in a foul mood all afternoon. I couldn't even get excited about gaming. At dinner, the butler summoned me to the main dining room. The long table was set for the core members of the Davenport clan. At the head sat my father-in-law, Arthur Davenport, a man who radiated authority without saying a word. Catherine sat beside him. Across from them was Catherine's brother, Leo, a condescending jerk who'd looked down his nose at me since the day I moved in. The second I sat down, Leo started in with his usual smarmy tone. Well, look what the cat dragged in. If it isn't our resident man of leisure. I thought you'd be too busy moping in your room to eat tonight. I ignored him and picked up my fork, ready to dive in. Starving. They have short ribs tonight, my favorite. Failing to get divorced is bad enough. If I can't even get a decent meal, life is truly meaningless. I speared a piece of braised short rib, popped it in my mouth, and closed my eyes in bliss. Seeing that I wasn't taking the bait, Leo doubled down. He slapped a folder onto the table, looking at Arthur like a dog expecting a treat. Dad, this is the preliminary proposal for the partnership with Apex Dynamics. Once we land this project, Davenport Corp's market share will increase by at least 5% over the next 3 years. Arthur picked up the folder and put on his reading glasses. Leo shot a smug look in my direction, his eyes saying, "See that, you useless freeloader? That's the difference between you and me." I kept my head down, focusing on my ribs. Apex Dynamics. I remember hearing about that company back in my old life as a corporate drone. The CEO is a classic fail son, coasting on his family's connections and talking a big game. The company's a mess internally, and their financials are pure fantasy. Partnering with them is just asking to get screwed. I chewed thoughtfully, my inner monologue running wild. This Leo guy looks the part, but his business instincts are terrible. This proposal is full of buzzwords. Next-gen energy, AI integration. Does Apex even have the tech for that? More likely, they're just trying to scam the Davenports out of some investment capital before they skip town. Sheesh, this family. Aside from my wife being a smoke show, none of them seem to be playing with a full deck. As I was enjoying my silent roast, I felt a pair of eyes on me. I glanced up and met Catherine's gaze. She was watching me quietly, an inquisitive look on her face. My heart skipped a beat. What's she looking at me for? Is my chewing too loud? No way. I'm eating these ribs with aristocratic grace. I quickly put down my fork, wiped my mouth, and sat up straight, affecting the air of a perfect gentleman. Just then, Arthur finished reading the proposal and nodded. Leo, this looks promising. It's an ambitious plan. Leo practically preened. Of course, Dad. I pulled several all-nighters on this. Arthur was about to say more, but Catherine suddenly spoke up. I don't agree with this proposal, Leo. In an instant, every eye in the room was on her. Leo's face darkened. What do you mean, Kate? You haven't even read it, and you're shooting it down. Catherine's voice was level, but carried an undeniable authority. Apex Dynamics doesn't have the resources to handle a project this size. Their financial situation is also unlikely to support the initial investment. I suggest we conduct a full due diligence report on Apex, paying special attention to their cash flow and technology patents. The points she made were almost identical to my silent criticisms. I was floored. Whoa, is that a coincidence? Or is my wife actually a business prodigy who saw right through the bullshit? Leo was speechless, his face turning a blotchy red. Arthur considered for a moment, clearly seeing the wisdom in his daughter's words. He looked at Leo. Catherine's right. Let's not rush this, Leo. Do what she said. Dig into Apex's background. Dad, Leo protested. That's final, Arthur said, leaving no room for argument. Leo shot me a death glare, as if this were somehow my fault. I blinked innocently. Why are you looking at me? I didn't say anything. Still, nice one, wifey. You almost let this moron bankrupt the family. Looks like you're the only one holding this place together. My mood improved dramatically, and I helped myself to another short rib. As a reward, I mentally dedicate this, the largest piece, to you. I happily popped the rib into my mouth. Across the table, Catherine took a sip of water. I thought I saw the corners of her perpetually tense mouth curve upward, just for a second. Must have been a trick of the light. Ice queens don't smile. Having his proposal shot down made Leo hate me even more. He was convinced I'd been bad-mouthing him to Catherine. The next day, he cornered me in the garden. Cole, what right do you have, a freeloader, to stick your nose in company business? He snarled. looking like he wanted to throttle me. I was squatting on the ground, watching a line of ants march, and didn't even look up, stick my nose in. I can barely be bothered to lift my feet, let alone my nose. Dude, do you have a persecution complex or something? I warned you, he seethed. Stay away from Catherine. Don't think you can just leech off this family forever. A loser like you will be kicked to the curb eventually. I sighed, stood up, and dusted off my hands. I'd love to be kicked to the curb, man, but your sister won't let me leave. Besides, if I left, with your business acumen, you'd run the Davenport fortune into the ground in 3 years. You wouldn't even have a trust fund left to complain about. I gave him a pitying smile. Leo, you've got it all wrong. Catherine and I are just having a little disagreement. I never meddle in family affairs. You. He was practically vibrating with rage at my nonchalant attitude. Just then, Catherine's car pulled into the driveway. The window rolled down, revealing her expressionless face. Leo, what are you doing? Leo's bluster vanished instantly, but he still tried to complain. Kate, don't let him fool you. He's trying to drive a wedge between us. Catherine's gaze shifted from her brother to me. I immediately switched into my best impression of a kicked puppy, looking down at my shoes with a I've been wrong but ignoble expression. Look at me. Look at my sad, innocent eyes. Your brother is bullying me. You're my wife. You've got to stand up for me here. Catherine was silent for a few seconds before speaking to Leo. Get in the car. We're going to the office. Dad wants you to compile all the files on Apex Dynamics. Was she defending me? Leo reluctantly got in the car. Before it drove off, he shot me a "you just wait" look through the window. I gave him a bright, sunny wave in return. Have a great day, moron. I cheerfully returned to my room, ready to resume my grand project of doing nothing. That afternoon, the butler brought me afternoon tea. A delicate china plate held a few slices of tiramisu and a cup of pour-over coffee. Mr. Miller, Mrs. Davenport specifically requested the kitchen prepare this for you, the butler said respectfully. I froze. For me? What did hell freeze over? In 3 months of marriage, she's barely even looked at me. Today she defends me and sends me fancy cake. I took a bite of tiramisu. Wow, that's good. Sweet, but not too sweet. Melts in your mouth. Maybe my wife isn't so heartless after all. Could it be that her conscience is bothering her? Maybe she feels bad about trying to buy me off for a measly $50 million and wants to make up for it with pastries? I mused happily as I ate. If I get afternoon tea every day, maybe I can put off the divorce for a little while. Meanwhile, in the top floor office of Davenport Corp., Catherine stared at the due diligence report her assistant had just delivered, her brow furrowed. The report confirmed her every suspicion. Apex Dynamics was a shell company drowning in debt. The so-called next-gen tech patents were non-existent. If she hadn't stopped the deal, the Davenports would have taken a massive hit. Her assistant spoke quietly. Ms. Davenport, how do we know something was wrong with Apex? Their financial statements were flawless. Several top accounting firms didn't see any red flags. Catherine picked up her coffee, her gaze drifting out the window. How did she know? She didn't. It was just that yesterday, at the dinner table, when Leo presented his proposal, a series of voices had popped in her head. Apex Dynamics. The CEO is a classic fail-son. Their financials are pure fantasy. The words were as clear as if someone were whispering in her ear. And the source of those words was her husband, the man who had been completely absorbed in devouring a plate of short ribs, looking for all the world like he didn't have a care in the world. At first, she thought she was hallucinating from stress. But then this morning, in the garden, she'd heard it again. Dude, do you have a persecution complex or something? If I left with your business acumen, you'd run the Davenport fortune into the ground in 3 years. The commentary was sharp, accurate, and strangely amusing. She looked at the 2 unsigned divorce agreements on her desk. Cole's signature line was still blank. Her own signature was stopped, half-finished. Catherine picked up the Mont Blanc pen, twirling it between her fingers. Maybe this divorce wasn't so urgent after all. This man was turning out to be far more interesting than she'd ever imagined. The crisis at Davenport Corp didn't end with the exposure of Apex Dynamics. A much bigger problem was heading their way. Apex's parent company was owned by the Hamiltons, another one of the city's powerful families. Rejecting Leo's proposal was a public slap in the face to them. Ethan Hamilton, the family's sole heir and a notorious shark who always wore a smile, showed up at Davenport Corp in person. "Catherine, I hear you're not satisfied with my company's proposal?" Ethan said, sitting across from her with a grin that didn't reach his eyes. The atmosphere in the boardroom was thick with tension. Leo sat with his head down like a chastised schoolboy. Arthur's face was grim. Under immense pressure, Catherine's voice remained steady. "Ethan, business partnerships are about mutual benefit. After evaluating your proposal, we deemed the risk to be too high." "Risk?" Ethan chuckled. "I think it sounds more like you don't trust the Hamilton family's capabilities." His tone shifted, becoming aggressive. "Since Davenport Corp is too good for our little project, I suppose the joint development agreement for the Hudson Yards South project is no longer necessary." The Hudson Yards South project. It was the Davenport's biggest venture of the year, with billions of dollars already invested. If the Hamiltons pulled out now, the entire project would collapse, and the company's cash flow would be instantly severed. It was blatant blackmail. Beneath the table, Arthur's hands clenched into fists. The color drained from Catherine's face. The entire boardroom was silent. And me? I was at home, enjoying a delightful afternoon nap. I had no idea about the corporate drama unfolding downtown. All I knew was that the sun was warm, the bed was soft, and in my dreams, there was an endless supply of short ribs. Just one more piece. So good. I rolled over, smacking my lips, and continued my culinary dream. In her office, Catherine felt a throbbing in her temples. On one side was Ethan Hamilton's relentless pressure. On the other, the survival of her family's empire. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to stay calm. She needed a way out, a strategy that would make Ethan back down without sacrificing the Hudson Yards project. But what could she do? The Hamiltons had come prepared, ready to go for the jugular. Just as her mind was racing, that familiar voice echoed in her head, completely out of the blue. "Man, that was a good nap. Time to find some food. I wonder what's for afternoon tea today. Another slice of that tiramisu would be perfect. Catherine, is this really the time to be thinking about dessert? Nah, first I should go check on my succulents. I watered them yesterday, wonder how they're doing." A vein pulsed in Catherine's temple. Here she was, drowning in stress over the company, and he was thinking about snacks and houseplants. Did this man have any sense of responsibility as a Davenport by marriage? Just as she was about to lose her composure, the voice spoke again. "You know, that name? Ethan Hamilton, sound familiar." "Oh, I remember now. Saw him in the financial news in my past life. The guy's a total maniac, does anything to win. I think he had a mortal enemy. Some guy named Thorne?" "Dr. Thorne? The one who makes those computer chips." "Yeah, that's it. Dr. Marcus Thorne. I heard Hamilton stole his girlfriend back in the day to win a contract or something. They've hated each other's guts ever since. Thorne went on to create the Helios chip and basically used it to choke out Hamilton's electronics division. Hamilton was losing his mind trying to get his hands on that chip. Sheesh, the drama. My succulents are so much more peaceful." The voice faded. Cole had probably gone to check on his plants. But in the boardroom, Catherine's eyes suddenly lit up. "Dr. Marcus Thorne, the Helios chip." It was like a bolt of lightning, illuminating a path through the fog. She found it, the key to turning the tables. In front of everyone, Catherine picked up her phone. Her fingers flew across the screen, pulling up a file. "Ethan," she said, looking him straight in the eye, her earlier panic replaced by a steely confidence. "We can walk away from the Hudson Yards project. But your subsidiary, Voyager Electronics, has been having some trouble sourcing the Helios chip lately, haven't they?" The smile on Ethan Hamilton's face froze. How? How did you know that?" The Helios chip was the core product of Prometheus Innovations, founded by Marcus Thorne. Its performance blew foreign competitors out of the water, and every high-end electronics manufacturer was desperate to get it. Voyager Electronics was one of the Hamiltons' most vital assets, but their reliance on foreign chips had left them vulnerable. They desperately needed a domestic supplier. But because of their personal feud, Marcus Thorne had publicly declared that Prometheus products would never be sold to the Hamiltons. It was Ethan's biggest headache for the past 6 months, and a closely guarded secret within his company. How did Catherine know? She didn't answer his question, continuing instead, "As it happens, Dr. Thorne of Prometheus Innovations was a friend of mine in college. and the venture capital arm of Davenport Corp. was one of his angel investors. She paused, delivering the final blow. So if you're truly set on tearing up the Hudson Yard Agreement, I imagine Marcus would be more than happy to see Voyager's production lines stay shut down for a few more months. The air in the room seemed to solidify. Ethan's expression shifted from confusion to shock, finally settling on a dark, humiliated shade of red. He stared at Catherine, unable to comprehend what had just happened. The connection between the Davenports and Prometheus was buried deep. Even his own intelligence hadn't uncovered it. How had she found his greatest weakness in a matter of minutes? Arthur and the other executives were equally stunned. They had no idea their company had invested in such a game-changing startup. Only Catherine knew the truth. Just moments ago, she had plucked the names Marcus Thorne and Helios Chip from Cole's inner monologue. She had immediately had her assistant search the company's investment portfolio and, sure enough, found a relatively small angel investment made 5 years prior to a Prometheus Innovations. She had approved the funding herself, but had forgotten about it amidst countless other projects. Cole had reminded her. The man who did nothing but eat, sleep, and tend to his succulents had, in the most bizarre way imaginable, handed her the key to saving the entire company. After a long, tense silence, Ethan Hamilton finally folded. "Well played, Catherine," he bit out. "We'll continue with the Hudson Yards project. I look forward to our continued partnership." He and his team left the boardroom in a humiliated retreat. The crisis was over. The room erupted in cheers of relief. Arthur walked over to his daughter and clapped her firmly on the shoulder. "Catherine, you did it. You saved the company again." Leo looked at his sister with a complex mix of jealousy, resentment, and utter defeat. But Catherine ignored the praise. She walked past the celebrating executives to the window, her gaze fixed on the small garden below. In a corner of the garden, a man in casual clothes was crouched on the ground, carefully misting a row of succulents with a small spray bottle. The sunlight cast a warm, golden glow around him. His profile looked surprisingly gentle in the afternoon light. Catherine watched him, his chaotic inner thoughts echoing in her mind. "Whoops, is that leaf turning yellow? Too much water, maybe? This one's called a bear paw. It's so fuzzy and cute. Way cuter than those old sharks in the boardroom. What's for dinner tonight? Short ribs again, or maybe a steak? Decisions, decisions." A clear, genuine smile spread across Catherine's face. Was this man a master strategist hiding in plain sight, or just the luckiest damn fool on the planet? Ethan Hamilton's threat was neutralized, and Catherine's authority in the company soared to new heights. I, of course, knew none of this. I only noticed that the food at home was getting progressively better. Not only were there short ribs every day, but now things like lobster thermidor, dry-aged porterhouse, and truffle risotto started appearing. Catherine even hired a nutritionist for me, claiming I was too thin and needed to bulk up. I pinched the soft flesh around my waist and fell into deep thought. Are they trying to fatten me up for slaughter? Still, I could get used to this life of decadent corruption. Besides the 5-star meals, Catherine's attitude toward me had done a complete 180. She was no longer cold and distant. She was still a woman of few words, but the look in her eyes had softened considerably. Sometimes, if I fell asleep on the couch watching TV, she would quietly cover me with a blanket. If I was in the garden with my plants, she'd bring out a cup of tea and set it beside me. The most shocking thing happened one night when I was up late, deep in a gaming session. She walked in wearing a silk robe. Instead of her usual icy glare that could freeze lava, she just said softly, "Don't stay up too late. It's bad for your eyes." I was so startled, I fumbled my controller and got my fully healed teammate killed. Whoa, she's concerned about me? Did she get body snatched by an alien? Or is this some kind of final act of kindness before the divorce? Is she trying to make me feel guilty, so I'll give up the 50 million? No, I must be strong. This is a honey trap. A very, very comfortable honey trap. I remained wary of Catherine's gentle offensive, even as I shamelessly enjoyed every second of her attention. It was a confusing, yet wonderful state of affairs. One day, Catherine had a black-tie charity gala to attend and needed a date. Normally, she'd rather go with her bodyguard than with me. But this time, she broke precedent and extended an invitation. "There's a gala tonight. You're coming with me," she said, standing in front of me. It was a statement, not a request. I was curled up on the sofa, binge-watching an anime series, and didn't even look up. A gala? A bunch of phonies in tuxedos, wearing fake smiles and sucking up to each other. No thanks. I'd rather stay home with my anime. Not going. Not really my scene, I said lazily. You should go by yourself. Catherine fell silent. I could feel the temperature in the room start to drop. What, she's mad? Seriously? It's just a party. You always go alone anyway. Wouldn't taking a loser like me just embarrass you more? I peeked up at her. She was just standing there, staring at me, with an expression I couldn't quite decipher. It looked a little like she was hurt. No way. Hurt? My wife doesn't get hurt. I started to feel a little uneasy. Just then, that soft, melodic voice echoed in my head again. Ethan Hamilton will be at the gala tonight. He'll definitely try to cause trouble for you. I can't handle him by myself. Wait, that wasn't my inner voice. That was Catherine's? I shot upright, staring at her in disbelief. I could hear her thoughts. Since when? I stared at her, dumbfounded. She stared back. The air between us crackled. Her inner monologue continued. Why won't he come with me? Is he still angry about the divorce? Was I too harsh that day? He looked so heartbroken. He must still care about me deep down, right? He's just using this carefree attitude to hide how hurt he is. Me, lady, your imagination is working overtime. I wasn't heartbroken. I was terrified you were going to stiff me on the settlement. How do I ask him for help? Should I just tell him I need him? No, that's too pathetic. But I really don't want to face that shark Ethan alone. Listening to her internal turmoil, her vulnerability, I felt my resolve soften. Whatever. It was just one stupid party. I could treat it as a field trip for free food and drinks. I sighed and hauled myself off the sofa, stretching. All right, fine. Since you've been keeping me so well-fed lately, I'll go with you, I said, with an air of you owe me one. But just so we're clear, I'm only there for the food. Don't ask me to do anything else. Catherine's eyes lit up instantly. It was like watching fireworks bloom in a dark sky. Okay, she said, nodding emphatically, a smile touching her lips that she didn't seem to notice. He agreed. He really does care about me. I watched her, looking happier than I'd ever seen her, and scratched my head. Women, what a bunch of weirdos. The gala was a sea of glittering gowns and sharp tuxedos. I felt ridiculous in the designer suit Catherine had picked out for me. This thing is way too tight. It's strangling me. I miss my sweatpants. I grabbed a glass of champagne and found refuge at the buffet table in the corner, giving a platter of seared foie gras my undivided attention. Catherine moved through the crowd like a queen, effortlessly mingling with business tycoons and socialites. I was more than happy to be left alone. Just as I was about to launch my assault on a third platter of salmon sashimi, a grating voice sounded behind me. Well, if it isn't the Davenport's live-in charity case, Cole Miller. I turned. A few slick-looking guys and their dates were smirking at me. I vaguely recognized the one in the lead. A college classmate, maybe? Wade? A typical trust fund bully who was always running with a pack. Oh, right. I remember this clown from the original Cole's memories. He gave him hell back in school. Can't believe he's still this childish after all these years. Wade took my silence as fear and grew bolder. So, Cole, I heard you married up right out of college. Or should I say, you were bought? How's the life of the kept man treating you? His friends snickered. I couldn't be bothered. I picked up my plate to move to a different spot. Arguing with idiots just lowers your IQ. My destiny lies with the stars. And that platter of lobster tails over there. But Wade stepped in front of me, blocking my path. Hey, don't run off. It's a class reunion. Let's catch up. Word on the street is Catherine can't stand you. Surprised, she let you out of your cage tonight. Are you her designated driver? His insults were getting more pathetic. I was starting to get annoyed. Before I could say anything, a cool voice cut through the air. Wade, your mouth is as foul now as it was in college. Catherine had appeared at my side, her gaze fixed on Wade like a hawk spotting a rat. The smirk on Wade's face vanished. He clearly hadn't expected the legendary Ice Queen, who supposedly despised her husband, to actually come to his defense. "Okay, Catherine," he stammered. "My husband prefers his privacy," Catherine said, her tone quiet but heavy with menace. "If you can't control your mouth, I'd be happy to have your father remind you what manners are." The color drained from Wade's face. His family's small company depended on Davenport Corp for half its business. One word from Catherine could ruin him. I'm sorry, Catherine. I'm sorry, Cole. I've had too much to drink. I was talking nonsense. Wade bowed repeatedly before grabbing his friends and practically running away. The onlookers quickly dispersed. Soon, it was just the two of us in the corner. I looked at her, feeling a strange mix of emotions. I can't believe she defended me. It's kind of embarrassing to be protected by a woman, but it doesn't feel half bad. Catherine looked at me, and her own thoughts flooded my mind. He must be so upset that they bullied him. He's just looking down, not saying a word. He must be trying so hard not to show how hurt he is. This is all my fault. If I gotten here sooner, he wouldn't have had to endure that. From now on, I have to protect him. I won't let anyone bully him ever again. Listening to her almost maternal monologue, my eyes started to twitch. Lady, I'm not hurt. I'm just worried someone's going to get to the lobster before me. I cleared my throat, deciding to speak before she could write a whole tragic backstory for me in her head. Thanks. Catherine shook her head. She reached out and, with a natural, easy gesture, straightened my slightly crooked tie. Her fingertips were cool, carrying a faint, pleasant scent. They brushed against my Adam's apple. My whole body went rigid. A strange jolt like static electricity shot from my neck to my toes. Catherine's hand froze for a second, too, before she pulled it back as if nothing had happened. But her inner voice exploded in my head like a string of firecrackers. Oh my God, I touched him. His Adam's apple. It was so firm. His skin is so warm. Is his heart racing too? Does he think I'm being forward? I didn't mean to. What do I do? What do I do? I looked at her face, still a perfect mask of composure, and then listened to the five-alarm fire raging in her mind. For the first time, I thought that this ice queen was maybe kind of cute. The main event of the evening was a charity auction. The final item was a blue sapphire necklace called the Heart of the Ocean. The bidding started at $10 million. I had zero interest in shiny rocks and was about to slip outside for some fresh air when Ethan Hamilton suddenly raised his paddle. $20 million. After placing his bid, he shot a provocative look at Catherine. Everyone knew what this was about. He didn't want a necklace. He wanted to humiliate the Davenports. Catherine's expression hardened. Leo, sitting beside her, was already fuming. Kate, we can't let him get away with this. I'll bid 30. Catherine put a hand on his arm to stop him. Ethan is deliberately driving up the price to drain our capital. We can't fall for his trap. The market value of this necklace is $15 million, tops. Her thoughts were calm and rational. I listened and nodded to myself. Yep, wife's right. Spending tens of millions on a stupid rock. With that money, think of all the short ribs I could buy. Seeing no reaction from the Davenport table, Ethan's smirk widened. What's the matter, Catherine? Not interested in the heart of the ocean? Or is it that Davenport Corp can't afford a little necklace these days? A murmur went through the crowd. This was more than just a challenge. It was a public declaration of war. Leo's face was beet red. If Catherine hadn't been holding him back, he would have charged across the room. Catherine's own hands were clenched into fists. That bastard. He's trying to corner me. If I don't bid, by tomorrow the whole city will be whispering that Davenport Corp is having cash flow problems. But if I do bid, I'm playing right into his hands. She was trapped. I looked at the glittering blue necklace on stage, then at Ethan's punchable face and stroked my chin. That necklace, why does it look so familiar? I dug through the memories of the original Cole. He might have been a doormat, but he was still born with a silver spoon in his mouth and had picked up a thing or two about antiques and jewelry. Oh, I remember. That's not the heart of the ocean. It's the Siren's Tear. Holy crap, that thing's a fake. The original Cole saw it in a book in his grandfather's library. The real heart of the ocean was lost at sea over a century ago. Some jeweler later made a high-quality replica and named it the Siren's Tear. It was so well made that it was often passed off as the real thing. This Siren's Tear, while beautifully crafted, is worth a tiny fraction of the original. Maybe $2 million tops. And that idiot Ethan is paying $20 million for a fake and acting all smug about it. This is hysterical. I was cackling internally, completely oblivious to the fact that the woman beside me had gone completely still. She whipped her head around to stare at me, her eyes wide with shock and disbelief. A fake? How does he know it's a fake? Is it possible? He's not just pretending to be useless, but is actually a master appraiser in disguise. Her mind was a tempest of astonishment. On stage, the auctioneer was starting the countdown. 20 million, going once. 20 million, going twice. Any other bids? Ethan looked at Catherine, victory gleaming in his eyes, waiting for her to concede. At the last possible second, Catherine smiled. She raised her paddle. Her lips parted, and she named a price that made the entire room gasp. 50 million. Everyone went crazy. Ethan's triumphant smile froze on his face. 50 million. It was an insane price, far beyond anyone's expectations. Ethan's face became a kaleidoscope of colors. He never imagined Catherine would not only meet his bid, but blow it out of the water, raising it to a level he couldn't possibly match. If he bid again, it would be 60 million. Even he would be disowned by his father for spending that much on necklace. But if he backed down now, all his earlier posturing would make him look like a complete fool. 50 million going once. 50 million going twice. The auctioneer's voice hammered down on Ethan. Beads of sweat formed on his forehead. He looked at Catherine, trying to find any sign that she was bluffing. But there was none. She simply met his gaze, her eyes holding a faint trace of pity, as if she were looking at a clown. 50 million, 3 times. Sold. The gavel fell. The necklace belonged to Catherine. But no one in the room thought she had one. Spending 50 million on a $15 million necklace out of spite, everyone assumed the intense pressure had finally made the CEO of Davenport Corp snap. Ethan had lost face, but he was secretly thrilled. He had successfully tricked the Davenports into flushing millions down the drain. Impressive, Catherine. Very impressive, he said, clapping with mock sincerity. Catherine ignored him. She turned to me and held out her arm. Let's go home. I numbly placed my hand on her arm and let her lead me out of the ballroom. I was still in a daze when we got in the car. What the hell was that? Is she insane? Didn't she hear me? I told her it was a fake, and she still paid 50 million for it. Are we made of money? 50 million. Do you know how many short ribs I could buy? You're going to bankrupt us. My soul was bleeding from the financial wound. Catherine sat beside me, clearly hearing my anguish. She was trying not to laugh, but her inner voice was smug. You idiot. Who said I was going to pay for it? When we got home, Leo followed us in, immediately rounding on me. Cole, this was you, wasn't it? Did you convince Kate to bid on that necklace? 50 million. Do you have any idea how much money that is? You're going to ruin us. He was convinced I had goaded her into it to try and win her favor. I ignored him and went straight to the fridge for a Coke to calm my nerves. Catherine stepped between me and her brother. Leo, this has nothing to do with Cole. It was my decision. Your decision? Kate, have you lost your mind? I'm perfectly sane. Catherine took out her phone and made a call. Hello, Mr. Davies? It's Catherine Davenport. I need you and our corporate appraisal team to go to the auction house tonight. That's right. Tell them we suspect them of auctioning a counterfeit item and demand an on-site inspection of the heart of the ocean. If it's a fake, I want you to file a lawsuit against the auction house and the consignor for commercial fraud. The consignor. Everyone knew the necklace had been consigned by a distant relative of Ethan Hamilton, which meant it was really him. Leo was stunned. A fake? Kate, how did you know it was a fake? Catherine glanced at me, her look full of meaning. I have my sources. Then she made another call. Hello, Marcus. It's Kate. Yes, I need a favor. I want you to leak a story to the financial press. Ethan Hamilton has been desperately trying to buy an alternative to your Helios chip, and he just spent a fortune on a batch of defective product from overseas. Yes, now, the sooner the better. She hung up. The living room was dead silent. Leo stared at his sister as if he'd never seen her before. It was a brutal, elegant 1-2 punch. First, use the counterfeit claim to drag Ethan and the auction house into a credibility crisis. Then, leak the story about his Chipgate scandal to tank the Hamilton stock price. She wasn't just returning the humiliation Ethan had intended for her. She was multiplying it by 10 and sending it right back at him. And it all started because I looked at Catherine, sitting calmly on the sofa, commanding her forces like a general. Damn, my wife is a total badass. Events unfolded exactly as Catherine had planned. The next morning, 2 bombshells hit the financial world. Scandal rocks art world. Prestigious auction, house accused of selling counterfeit, heart of the ocean. Consignor linked to Hamilton family. Voyager Electronics in Chipgate crisis. Hamilton Corp stock plummets at opening bell. The Hamilton family was in chaos. Ethan was buried, dealing with furious shareholders, aggressive reporters, and federal investigators. He never dreamed that the trap he had set for the Davenports would end up burying him instead. And Davenport Corp emerged from the fray with its reputation stronger than ever. Everyone was talking about Catherine Davenport's ruthless tactics and brilliant foresight. In the Davenport living room, Arthur was reading the paper, beaming. Excellent. Absolutely excellent. Catherine, you played that beautifully. Leo was completely humbled, looking at his sister with newfound respect. Kate, I really underestimated you. Catherine just gave a small smile. She picked up a cup of tea and walked out to the garden, where I was watering my succulents. Busy, she asked. I said, not looking up. This little pink one looks like it's about to flower. Nice. The world outside is full of drama. My little garden is the only sane place left. Catherine watched me, a hint of amusement in her inner voice. This man turns the entire business world upside down and then acts like nothing happened, worrying about whether his plan is going to bloom. What kind of person is he really? She handed me the cup. Here, drink this. I took it and had a sip. Oh, by the way, she mentioned casually, the auction house already refunded the $50 million. They also paid us an extra $10 million in damages. My hand, holding the watering can, paused. What? We got the money back. And an extra $10 million on top. So I was worried for nothing. Wait, that means our family is even richer now? I felt my retirement plan solidify even further. I looked at Catherine and said, with genuine admiration, Kate, you're amazing. It was the first time I had ever complimented her so sincerely. Catherine froze for a second. Then a lovely blush spread across her pale cheeks, all the way to the tips of her ears. He complimented me. He called me Kate. He really does have feelings for me. Seeing the rare, shy expression on her usually stoic face, my heart did a weird little flip-flop. Strange. Why is she blushing? Although, she looks pretty good when she blushes. The crisis with the Hamiltons ended when Ethan's father came to our house to personally apologize. The Davenports not only emerged unscathed, but, through a deeper partnership with Prometheus Innovations, had secured a foothold in the tech industry, brightening the company's future immensely. And I, the secret mastermind behind it all, continued my simple, unglamorous life. Except, things between me and Catherine had changed. We were no longer like two strangers living under the same roof. She started memorizing my favorite foods, having the kitchen prepare something new for me every day. She'd join me in the garden, helping me water and weed. She even started pulling up a stool to watch me play video games for hours on end. She never said much, but I could hear her thoughts, and they were always about me. He's playing that shooter game again. He looks so focused. He ate 3 servings of dinner. He must have been really hungry. He looks like a little kid when he's sleeping. It was a strange feeling being the center of someone's universe like that, but not a bad one. That night, I was lying in bed, unable to sleep. I was pondering a very serious question. Do I still want this divorce? If I go through with it, I get $50 million, a condo, a Porsche. I can retire and live the good life. If I don't, I get Catherine. I get amazing food every day, warm blankets, and an ice queen who blushes whenever I say something nice to her. I ran a hand through my hair in frustration. This is a tough one. As I was wrestling with my dilemma, the bedroom door opened. Catherine walked in, wearing her silk robe. She came over and sat on the edge of my bed. Can't sleep? She asked. Yeah. What you doing in here? It's the middle of the night. A man and a woman, all alone. I instinctively scooted further away from her. Catherine saw the movement, and her inner voice was tinged with hurt. He's still avoiding me. Is he still thinking about the divorce? She was quiet for a moment, then she pulled something out from behind her back. It was the divorce agreement, the one I thought she had destroyed. My heart sank. So this is it, the moment of truth. She placed the agreement and a pen in front of me. Cole, she said, her voice trembling almost imperceptibly. I'm going to ask you one last time. Are you absolutely sure this is what you want? I looked at the papers, then at her. Moonlight streamed through the window, illuminating her face. Her eyes reflected the moon, and they reflected me. I could hear her screaming inside her own head. Don't sign it. Please don't sign it. Tell me you don't want to leave. Tell me you love me, even if it's a lie. If you don't sign it, I'll do anything for you. My heart felt like it had been slammed by a sledgehammer. It ached. I picked up the pen. As Catherine watched with eyes full of despair, I uncapped it. Then, right in front of her, I ripped the $50 million agreement clean in half, then into quarters, then eighths, until it was nothing but a pile of scraps. I tossed the confetti into the trash can, then looked up at her and said, very deliberately, "Did you hear my answer?" Catherine was stunned. She stared at me, her eyes instantly welling up with tears. The next second, she threw herself at me, wrapping me in a fierce hug. I heard it, she sobbed, her voice full of joy. "I heard you. He said he doesn't want to leave. He said he wants me more than $50 million. He said he loves me." I was being slightly crushed and patted her on the back. Lady, my final thought was clearly, I'm hungry. I could really go for a midnight snack. Oh well, whatever makes her happy. From that night on, my life became truly heavenly. Catherine treated me so it was almost obscene. I was upgraded from the guest room to the master suite. My alarm clock was replaced by the smell of breakfast cooking. Catherine insisted on making it for me herself, even if her cooking was an acquired taste. How is this egg burnt on one side and raw on the other? Did she forget the salt in this oatmeal? Or did she use sugar by mistake? I would provide a running commentary of silent complaints while smiling and eating every last bite. Delicious. Really? She'd ask, her eyes full of hope. Really? Terrible. Really? I'd nod emphatically, and then I'd hear her heart fill with joy. He loves my cooking. I'll have to try even harder tomorrow. Me? Oh well. You make your bed, you lie in it, and you eat the questionable breakfast your wife makes for you. Life continued in this strange, sweet rhythm of me silently complaining and her happily misinterpreting everything. Leo stopped glaring at me all the time and even started coming to me for life advice. Hey Cole, how do I become like you? So enlightened, so detached from material wealth. I was lounging on a chaise in the garden, and I opened one. I had to look at him. Enlightened? Detached? No, I'm just lazy. I yawned and gave him one piece of advice. Sleep more. Leo nodded thoughtfully and left. I later heard he actually slept for 3 days straight, and Arthur nearly grounded him. One afternoon, Catherine and I were cuddled up on the sofa, watching an old movie. The sun was warm. A gentle breeze was blowing. I was starting to drift off. Catherine, resting her head on my shoulder, suddenly whispered, "Cole, are you happy?" I answered with my eyes closed, my voice lazy. Happy. Of course I'm happy. I'm rich, I'm retired, and I've got a beautiful woman in my arms. This is literally everything I've ever wanted. I was basking in my good fortune when I felt the head on my shoulder shift. Catherine's ear did just twitch, like a cat that had heard a strange noise. An absurd, terrifying thought shot through my mind, making the hair on my arm stand up. Slowly, very slowly, I opened my eyes. I looked at her face, so close to mine. As a test, I thought one word very clearly in my mind. Kate. Her eyelashes fluttered. You can hear me. Everything I'm thinking. You know it all. Catherine slowly lifted her head and met my horrified gaze. And on her face, which was usually a perfect, emotionless mask, was a brand new expression, a guilty, pleading, deeply awkward smile. The air froze. My mind went completely blank. I'm screwed. My perfect, lazy life is about to get a system update. And